Hey everyone, I'm Rob Franek. I'm editor-in-chief here at the Princeton Review. Friends, with college campuses across the nation closed, many students are waiting and worrying and wondering about whether schools will actually reopen this fall and pondering the question what college will look like if and when they do. Now, while the number of people testing positive for COVID-19 is declining in many locations, we are not yet at a place where the virus is contained, and so all of us together are trying to figure out how to live with it in our midst. Now, many of you are likely reading and hearing that there are a few different scenarios for those reopening of college campuses this fall, and they can take shape in any number of ways. On one side of the spectrum, colleges may aim as close to possible of a real-time face-to-face experience in their reopening plans this fall. The Georgia University system is a really good example of this scenario. Now, the Georgia University system is a huge system. It's 330,000 students, and they are actively working to resume in-person instruction this fall. Of course, pending two things: one, approval from Georgia's governor, and then approval from state university officials. Then we have at the other side of the spectrum, some colleges would prefer to remain online throughout the fall semester. Online, that learning environment is embraced by the California State University system. Now that Cal State system is 23 campuses. That's 53,000 faculty member and 482,000 students. The Cal State system is the largest four-year public university system in the country. But the reality, folks, is that most schools are going to fall somewhere dead in the middle, which means that they are planning to reopen, but with significant modifications to the usual on-campus and in-person experience. Now, for those of you who are planning solid plans for the future in this fall, this information that I'm going to walk you through next is incredibly important. And our aim in serving this all up is pretty clear in our noggins. We are aiming to help you figure out what is the right next step for you academically, physically, socially, and I'm going to say it out loud, folks, financially. And just one big, broad brushstroke assurance: we're hearing lots and lots of plans among college officials to make masks, hand sanitizers, and COVID-19 screenings readily available on campus. Now, in some cases, those large-scale testing are going to be key components of the reopening of campuses this fall or beyond. Now, where reopening does happen, the name of the game, you can guess it as well as we can, is going to be social distancing. And one way that schools are hoping to achieve that important and very difficult goal is by extending the academic term. NYU administrators right now are planning to spread classes over 2 or 3 semesters during the fall, spring, and summer terms without charging any additional tuition. Columbia University, also in New York City, is planning that same scenario for those 3 separate academic terms. Now, with that said, other schools are adjusting their academic calendars to enable breaks to be longer. Now, this in part is to accommodate the expected second peak of COVID-19 during the winter months. So, the University of South Carolina will reopen for 3 months and then shift to remote learning after Thanksgiving. University of Notre Dame is planning to start their academic year a couple of weeks early so that students will go home for the Thanksgiving break and not return to campus until after the new year. Now, another safety strategy that some schools are deploying is to make their student housing less dense. Many schools are planning for this measure right now. Northeastern University, we're big fans of Northeastern at the Princeton Review. Northeastern, of course, is in Boston, and they are considering housing students in apartments and hotels throughout the city. Northeastern has already secured a couple of thousand extra beds to reduce that student density when campuses reopen. Now, Suffolk University, which is also in Boston, is planning to convert a hotel into a new residence hall to accommodate those students coming on campus for face-to-face learning this fall semester. DePaul University in Chicago, in the wonderful Lincoln Park neighborhood, is working to ensure an overall decrease on campus of 15% of its residence hall capacity. Friends, your experience this fall semester, no matter if you're an entering freshman or a seasoned senior, folks, your campus experience is going to be anything but typical. Lines for communal bathrooms or bunk beds or lounges converted into triples, simply put, will not be the experience of students coming onto campus this fall. All in all, there are absolutely worse things, but be that as it may, we all need to stay informed with these likely scenarios. Now, schools are also thinking about dining options on campus. Specifically, how do they feed their students without making each meal a potential super spreader event? Now, we've heard talk of eliminating buffet lines entirely, as well as preliminary plans for having groups of students take turns going to the dining hall so that that dining hall is never at or anywhere near capacity. Now, friends, we've already been yapping a lot about things that are going to happen, likely scenarios this fall. We've talked about living and, of course, eating on campus, but we should probably talk about, well, learning at college, since that's the key part of your college experience. And I am pleased, without question, to report that there are all sorts of plans for hybrid learning. Now, this could entail classes where some students are physically there in person while others participate virtually. That's the plan for some courses at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. Now, NYU will allow in-person as well as remote engagement, and NYU is employing a new program called Go Local, where students could do in-person and remote learning as a combination based out of the NYU site nearest to where they live. In short, my friends, many institutions are planning to offer classes both in person as well as online. Even when classes do meet in that traditional sense, colleges are planning for a new kind of separate togetherness. It's likely that larger classes will be broken up into smaller sections. The University of Kentucky is planning for that scenario right now. Specifically, that already small classes will be offered in larger lecture rooms. Now, we understand that that same protocol may happen at Boston College come the fall as well. And of course, we'll report that information back out to you as soon as we earn it. But some colleges are considering having certain groups of students return to campus while others will stay at home. Now, which group returns will likely depend on their field of study as well as the student cohort itself. So for instance, students in the sciences whose work requires use of lab facilities will likely be returning to campus before those students who are their peers who major in the humanities. Now, at Harvard Medical School, incoming first-year students will start their medical educations online, and more advanced cohorts will return to campus for lab and clinical experiences. Now, again, let's think about the University of Kentucky. It's considering only allowing first-year students and possibly some sophomores back onto campus face-to-face, since those students might benefit most from learning in person. And then there's the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Now that is the glorious flagship of the UMass system. They're thinking about bringing back freshmen as well as seniors face-to-face on their wonderful campus in Amherst, Massachusetts. And for many international students, those are students both arriving for first-time freshman experiences onto campuses as well as returning students. It is simply going to be impossible for many of them to enroll this fall. And this will have an impact on colleges as well as students alike. Now, folks, there are still all sorts of questions that likely remain in your minds and ours, and many of them focus specifically around financial aid. A few that might be on your mind. Number one, if out-of-state students are taking remote classes from at home, do they still have to pay out-of-state tuition? Number two, how will colleges absorb the costs associated with small classes or less dense residence hall rooms or longer academic terms? And three, as we just discussed, if international students do not matriculate this fall, how will schools make up for the significant financial shortfall that will create? Folks, I'm here to tell you we will figure this out, and we will figure it out together. And if there's a school that you want to attend, and if you have the opportunity to go to that school, then go. Even if going means putting on your headphones and flicking on your laptop camera for now. Or even if it means deferring and taking classes at a local community college, or doing remote work and then going in person in the next academic year. But make plans, friends, to pursue your dreams in whatever way feels right for you and, of course, for your family. And let's remind ourselves that the folks who run institutions of higher learning care deeply about your education, and they're working hard to ensure that regardless of where you are or how you're engaging, that you'll still be learning and preparing for your future professional life. Folks, as always, our full team at the Princeton Review will do our level best to keep you posted as new information becomes available. And if you have any questions or thoughts, please leave us a comment here in our YouTube segment. And if you've heard or if you've thought of another innovative way to teach or learn, then let us know pronto and we'll talk about it. And of course, remember to subscribe to our channel for all the latest updates on admission and exam and a whole lot more. Again, folks, my name is Rob Franek, Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review. Take care, be well, and I'll be back with you again tomorrow.